Hi HR Nation, it's Chris Rainey. Welcome to the HR Leaders Podcast, the show where we interview today's most successful and innovative HR practitioners 5 days a week. Today we have a special show. We're here at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park for LinkedIn's Talent Intelligence Experience. Welcome to the show, John. How are you?
Doing great. Yeah, I'm excited to chat.
Fantastic. Well, look, I know you've had a very long day so far, so thanks for taking the time out to join us. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself personally and your journey to where we are today.
Yeah, well, I guess I started in HR software almost a decade ago. I was working at Google, actually, and I was leading about 10 teams at the time on the engineering side, and I kept noticing that when we'd fail to meet our objectives for the quarter, almost every time it was due to not having the right person at the right place at the right time, and I just started realizing how impactful recruiting was on our overall success as a business. And so I left Google and started a company called Connectifier and ran that for a few years. That company was acquired by LinkedIn about 2.5 years ago. And now I'm at LinkedIn and I run all of the products for LinkedIn Talent Solutions.
So tell us your thoughts on the current world of work. What are your thoughts on it? Because it's changed so dramatically over the last 5 to 10 years now.
Yeah. I think there are a couple of key things that are changing, in particular around how we find work or how work finds us. And I think it really pertains to data. There's more data, more insights, more information on both sides of the process. So job seekers, for example, they can find so many opportunities online, and they can research companies online and understand them better than they could in the past by far. And the same is true on the recruiter side. There's so much more information about job seekers. So, in the UK, for example, the vast majority, over 75% of folks in the UK are on LinkedIn. And that gives tremendous insight into who they are and what kind of people are out there for the role that you're trying to hire for. I think the way that this insight shows up is really two things. One is in kind of analysis and insights about what's going on in the market or how the process is working. And then also in terms of artificial intelligence, which is essentially just software using that insight on its own.
Mm-hmm. I think for the HR leaders that I speak to now, it's massively disrupted their role.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the traditional role of a HR leader and you start talking about AI, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, kind of a world apart from where they are. How can they prepare themselves as leaders for this new age of work?
I think what's starting to happen is people are already figuring out that they need to do something about this trend, but a lot of people are really not sure what. I don't think everyone actually understands what the trend means. But there are kind of two impacts, I think. One is recruiters, recruiting teams, recruiting leaders all have the ability to spend more time doing analysis and doing strategy because the information's available. It's hard to think strategically when you just can't answer the strategic questions. And the other thing that's starting to happen, and I think people are starting to pick up on this too, is with AI playing a more prominent role and recruiting getting a little bit easier in some specific ways, particularly around tedious tasks like reviewing thousands of resumes, you're able to save time on those tasks and still get to the same result. So you can reinvest that time, and you can reinvest it working with people, talking to the candidates and understanding who they are, what they have to offer, what motivates them, really forming that human connection.
Yeah, but that was one of the concerns I hear from the leaders is as recruitment becomes more and more automated, people are starting to become a bit concerned about that, how it's kind of being detached from the human element to it. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually think ironically it's the opposite.
Okay.
Yeah, that the more AI plays a role and the more it frees up our time to do something else, the more we'll be able to spend it on those important strategic questions, and we'll be able to spend it with people. And it's very important that we do that. I actually think it's pretty unlikely that most successful companies are going to be cutting their recruiting budget in a big way.
Yeah.
It's just becoming more and more clear. I mean, we're in a knowledge-based economy. And the key to success in a knowledge-based economy is having the right people with the right ideas and the ability to execute on those ideas. So winning companies are built on winning teams. I think people recognize that. So they'll be reinvesting those resources for the most part.
Well, on that point then, how is LinkedIn helping shape the future of recruiting?
Well, we have a couple of unique advantages, I think. And the primary one is probably our relationship with LinkedIn members. Members on LinkedIn tell us so much about who they are, not just their profile, but also what their interests are, what their career interests are, where they want to work, what kind of title they want to have, what their commute preferences are even. It gets very detailed.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we see a tremendous amount of data about how hiring activity is unfolding on our platform. And so we can learn from that. We can see what roles are more in demand and which kinds of skills are evolving and growing over time. And funneling all of that understanding into artificial intelligence and insights is, I think, creating a much more powerful experience for our customers. And that's what we're hearing from them. And we're very excited to be bringing those advantages to our customers.
I think one of the things that I'm excited about, and I know the leaders that I'm speaking to are, is that you've added diversity insights into the product. Why is diversity so important, and why did you put so much emphasis on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, diversity being important is almost self-explanatory, but it's probably worth saying that the data, the science strongly suggests that diverse teams are stronger teams. They perform at a higher level. And there's all kinds of analysis that's shown that as a result. So it's important to business outcomes. I think it's also morally important that we treat people fairly and we treat them with respect to their skills and their capabilities, their experience, as opposed to anything else. And so what we've done in our stance on diversity is just make sure that doesn't factor into the decision. That we launched this feature, representative results, just recently. What that feature does is just ensure that as AI is playing more and more of a role, and as we're putting the best fitting candidates more and more to the top of the list, recruiters are paying more attention to just that top part of the list, and they're actually not looking at as many people. That's a good thing, because it's more efficient for them. But we're ensuring that those people that we're putting at the top have the same breakdown along gender lines as the rest of the talent pool. We're not introducing any skew there. In fact, we're preventing one from occurring.
On that point, are you planning on adding additional diversity insights into the platform?
Yeah, so
like ethnicity, for example?
We're starting with gender right now. That's what we heard is the clearest demand from our customers, but we're very interested in expanding the scope of the project.
Fantastic. Well, in terms of your own advice then, for all of the listeners, everyone tuning in, what would your number one piece of advice be for them?
I think relating to how we started this conversation, you asked me what's changing, and I think the thing that's changing most about the world of work is how we get work or how work finds us. And as a result, it's recruiters that are in the greatest state of change. And I think that this is a time when folks need to concentrate on learning in those two key areas that I mentioned. One is on strategy and analytics, and the other is on those human connections, or maybe some light sales skills, or definitely communication skills. And I think focusing on those areas feels kind of, to me, like focusing on the future of the growth of our industry.
And for everyone, if they want to learn more about, well, firstly, if they can how can they best get in contact with you if they have any questions? And secondly, what's the best way for them to learn more about the solutions and the new products?
Yeah, so LTS, Talent Solutions at LinkedIn, has a blog, and you can follow the blog. You can also follow me personally for some insights about how our products work and how you can use them. And you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights with our listeners and your experience. Guys, as always, make sure you head over to hrleaders.com. There you'll find all of the show notes from the conversation, everything we've been talking about here. Of course, as always, if you're interested in more, like, subscribe, comment, let us know your thoughts. Apart from that, thank you again for joining us, and we wish you all the best until we next speak.
Thanks very much. Good talking to you.
Thanks a lot.